evening, we're all invited to take another terrifying journey into the world of mystery, suspense, and terror. Let's turn on all the lights, lock the doors and windows, sit back and enjoy this evening's chilling tale.
All right, well, thank you folks out there for tuning that dial to the Eek channel. My name is James, and today I am joined by my co-host over here on the right,
Cody,
and our special guest. This is Nathaniel. His his first time with us today, and is really, really exciting. So this is the Eek Channel podcast. This is where everyone wants to get together and talk about scary movies. A little bit later, we're going to go watch a scary movie, and we're also going to do a review on it, so that'll be fun. But for now, we're just here to talk about some spooky shit.
I'm spooked.
I hope so. It's October.
I am ashamed at how little I've squeezed in this October.
I know.
So for those who don't know, all of our friends know, I actually just changed jobs. In the middle of the school year, most teachers don't do that, and I went ahead and did it just because I wanted to make this year even more challenging.
You wanted to make your first year of teaching as easy as possible.
Yes, actually, that's true. And so the great thing is I'm moving to a great district. The bad thing is it's taken up a lot of my October, like all my October. I looked at the date. I was like, it is what? It is the 14th. A, my anniversary's tomorrow. B, I've watched like no scary movies.
Yeah.
I was squeezing them in any way I could this weekend.
Yeah. I actually haven't watched that much either. I'm a little bummed about it. At least not watch as much as I wanted. So I guess I should say, and we're back.
And we're back
Because we were gone for a week because I was in Mexico and coming back. I don't know if anybody out there is flying O'Hare anytime soon, but the tram is down, and they said it's going to be down until March, and getting back to the parking lot from the terminal without the tram is really shitty.
I was gonna say
bad.
all of their parking lots are out there. The
It's
cheap ones, the
bad.
expensive ones, all of them. They're
It's
out there.
bad. They just had extra buses running, but still not enough. They shoved all of us into this bus. I mean, it was like what you see in like movies in like third world countries where people are just like stacked on top of each other in this bus, and we had luggage. Like,
Yes.
it was crazy. I couldn't believe it.
Ew.
Leave it to CTA. Am I right?
It kind of makes me sweat a little bit just thinking about it.
It was
Like,
so hot.
It's just,
And it's like the people are moving in just such masses. Like, I got super separated from my wife, so she's like all the way at one end of the bus, and I'm all the way at the other end of the bus. And then like awkwardly, this group of college girls got on right after we did, so I'm like smushed up with all of these really young college girls like right here, and I'm like, this is just not.
this isn't me.
Comfortable for
Yeah.
me. I don't like this.
Yes. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's like every beginning of a horror movie. Like, there's my loved one. I want to go through this awful situation with you, and I can only barely see you. And our bus is going to get cut in two, and then we're going to spend the next 2 hours looking for each other. Right?
Oh, man.
Kind of.
Like, yeah.
It's kind of like Train to Busan-ish.
Sure.
It's kind of.
Anytime I'm traveling, I can't help but think of Train to Busan. Just
Right.
in general, like just all the massive amounts of people.
Ew.
Anyway, so Nathaniel,
Yes.
before we move on anymore, just tell us a little bit about who you are.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Great. This is
yeah.
gonna be a lesson in self awareness and self discovery.
Yeah.
So.
I guess so. I don't know. I've lived in Fort Wayne for like maybe like the past year and a half or so. Yeah, I teach writing at several different like universities here.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm from Texas.
Okay.
Texas.
Nice. The only thing I really know, well, I've been to Texas once, but really the only thing I ever really claim to know about Texas is Friday Night Lights. Texas forever. That's it. That's all I got.
Didn't you have didn't you have a drink in Texas?
A drink. Oh, I had many drinks in Texas.
There was a specific
Oh
one.
Lord, yes. That's the sweet tea story.
That's right.
So one time, this is gonna be real fast. You're gonna get the quick and dirty version of this. One time, they have these warehouse liquor stores that you like. It's like the size of like Sam's Club, but it's all liquor.
Because everything's
Yeah.
bigger in Texas.
Because everything's
right?
bigger in Texas. And one time I like got a free sample. They give out free samples, and I got
Yeah.
a free sample of it was like a sweet tea vodka that like it was like I forget, it was like 80 proof, so it
Sounds
wasn't
like
like
something I would hate.
Oh, yeah.
it wasn't super strong, but just strong enough.
Yeah.
And it was brewed with real tea. So it wasn't
Yeah.
like a fake Long Island iced tea.
Yeah.
I drank the whole bottle in one night, got super sick. I was staying in my buddy's apartment on the 3rd floor. Definitely leaned over the balcony and puked many times. It was awful. Yep, puked on his couch. It was awful.
That's
It was-
right.
it was-
I kind of forgot where that story was going. Actually, when I remembered the drink, but I was actually thinking about your mushroom steak story, which was also Texas, right?
yeah, that was the worm tequila. Like my Texas trip was wild. It was
Yeah.
like 10 days and I got it all in.
No, it's like what's funny about Texas is it's like obviously a place where people drink and enjoy a beverage and
Absolutely.
everything. But
Yes, please.
but it's a dry county. Like it's a place where it's like where they stop selling like they stop
Stop
selling
it.
alcohol after 9 p.m. Like
Yeah.
they're they don't sell liquor stores are closed on Sundays. Like
'Cause it's God's
like
country.
all that
That's
and
right.
everything.
Yeah,
But-
absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, the only time that I saw a guy just driving around town with an open container was in Texas.
Yep.
He's just like, oh, whatever, and he jumps on his pickup truck with one of these in his hand. He's like,
Yeah.
no big deal.
Yeah. In Central Texas, there are a few like drive-through places where they give you basically like like a thing with a straw in it, like a mixed drink, and they put it in a bag, and that's their loophole around it being legal. It's in a sealed bag, so you can be driving like with this beverage.
Even though you have a straw.
That's incredible. So the way the locals explained it to me was that you can drive with an open container. You just can't be intoxicated. It seems like a very strange gray line.
Yeah.
You can drink and drive. You just can't be intoxicated and drive. It's like, okay, as long as you have 1 per 40 minutes
There you go.
at my BMI, I'm fine, right?
You're
Like,
fine.
well under the limit.
three drinks and 1 bottle of water, you'll be fine.
Yeah, you'll be fine. That's my kind of road trip. Let's go. Just drive around Texas the whole day.
Let's do it. There's
that'll
plenty to
take you-
drive.
Yeah, that will take you several days. I'm
Okay,
just saying.
Nathaniel. So I met you because you started a meetup group
Yeah.
for horror fans
Yeah.
here in Fort Wayne.
Yeah.
So I think that's already really cool that you're a transplant yourself. And so, what's the story there? Was it just like I'm looking to meet some people, and the only people I want to meet should like horror movies?
Yeah. I mean, the funny story about that is because I just kind of discovered Meetup out of nowhere and just looked at the few things that are on it. One of them, was like a writing focused one. So I was like, okay, that seems cool, but I don't know. Like I joined it, I went to a meeting, I don't know, I didn't know how to feel about it. So that's when I just kind of decided, like, okay, let me just make a horror one and see what happens.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
just a shot in the dark and everything. And yeah, I mean, that was interesting because, just like for the first meeting, I mean, some of the people from like the writers group joined because, I mean, like what, one of the things they were interested in was kind of plugging in some like horror literature and stuff like that in it. And
Sure.
we talked a lot about Stephen King and stuff like that. And then, and then, I mean, after that, I think the next meeting was we saw Us and everything. And then that's when like the main kind of reoccurring people joined in. And so we basically like we watched Us and then we ate afterwards and just kind of talked about it. And then it just kind of went on from there where we do like, just like meetings at like a coffee shop and just talk about whatever. I would just come up with a theme or something like that. And then, it's like that. We did some viewings, but, when I started doing a lot of viewings, less people started showing up. So,
Sure.
So I was like, okay, why don't I just do the regular meetings? But yeah, it's like I really haven't done anything since like August.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's cool. I went to one, and I had a really great time, and I met some cool people, including yourself.
Oh, thanks.
Okay, so one of our favorite things to talk about on the show is before I move on, this is way out of place, and we're interrupting the flow of conversation, and I apologize to everyone. And if you're listening to the podcast, I also apologize. You gotta be here for this. My son Jonah is 7 years old, and he worked So he says that he worked really hard, but he made it very quickly.
Yes. That is
And he made a little sign that says Eek Show,
yes.
because that's the only way that he can explain what I do on Monday nights. Oh, are they here for Eek Show? Yeah, it's fine. You can call it that. I
Nailed
don't
it.
care. Maybe we'll just rename the whole thing just the Eek Show, because I
Eek
kind of
Show.
like it too.
I love it.
But anyway, I told him I would put it on camera. I don't typically let him watch or listen to this because of the language involved. But
Yeah.
up until this point, we've been fairly PG, maybe PG-13. So I did it. Eek Show, Jonah, Jonah Brave Hudson original right here.
Boom.
There it is.
We copyright this moment
I
because
did it.
somebody's going to try to steal that.
Oh, they can't steal that artwork, man.
Nope.
That's my new logo.
Nope. There it is. Oh, please.
Just gonna plaster this on shirts and
Maybe
everything.
you could do like a
Yes.
child-friendly like version
Oh,
of the
I've
show.
always really
like,
wanted to.
Yeah.
That's why I got the puppet over there.
Yeah, it's like I mean I feel like especially like these last couple of months there's been a lot of like PG-13 PG
Yeah.
Absolutely.
like Are You Afraid of the Dark and Creep Show and Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark and all of that like very
Actually, I took my
kid-friendly.
son to see Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. We had a great time. He's still. It's this thing of like, as an adult horror fan, you kind of want to traumatize your kid a little bit, like not to be mean about it, but just like I know how special those moments were for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like we took him to see that. I haven't let him watch anything like super intense yet, but we did take him to see that. And every once in a while, kind of randomly, he'll bring up like the spider segment or something like that.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
actually, what has freaked out my son the most in anything that's like horror adjacent is just Slappy in the second Goosebumps
Oh
live
my
action
God.
movie. Like he's terrified.
Really?
And so because of that, where is it? Child's Play. He'll come in here and he'll look at all of the movies, all the movie covers in here, and he goes straight to the Child's Play covers. And he's like, I never want to watch that movie.
Yes.
One day, my friend.
One
day.
You will love it. Yes.
No, yeah, it's funny because that reminds me of Artie, who's a member of Fort Wayne Horror
Yeah.
Junkies. Like, yeah, because she has a 1-year-old and she shows her anything she watches
Sure.
and everything, and she says it doesn't really faze her. And then she was telling me when we hung out the other day, like watching movies, she doesn't remember what it was, but it was something like kid friendly, like for kids that actually creeped her out.
Right.
And yeah, and she was like, okay, I've shown her like everything, and it doesn't faze her, but this one kid thing, like.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy the stuff they hang on to. Okay, so the place that I was going to go before I had to show our lovely new Eek Show sign is we love to talk about people's horror origin stories, and I think as we're talking about kids being exposed to horror movies, the perfect segue right into your horror origin.
Okay, so I mean, this is hard for me to kind of remember exactly. I mean, Halloween is one of my favorite horror movies, like the original. So that might be like why I remember that as my
Sure.
horror origin story. I was about 7. Like, I mean, my family, we just had a thing for like we would all just get together and watch movies like on Friday nights, especially if it was like October, to see like horror movies and things like that. And yeah, I remember seeing I might have seen it, the miniseries, sometime before that, I think, because that was pretty recent around that
Yeah.
time. But yeah, it's like, but I mean, Halloween is one of the ones that I remember the most. It was one of the few movies that I saw that like legitimately creeped me out when I first saw it as a kid, and you know, I had so many nightmares and everything after that. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of it. I mean, after that, I mean, we've seen so many other things with my family, but Halloween is kind of the one that sticks with me as like the first.
Is your family pretty open to horror in general? Like, is like one of your parents a big horror fan or anything like that?
Yeah. My mom definitely is and everything. Like, I mean,
It's interesting.
Yeah.
It's like that's why I mostly remember like video stores and everything like that, and Blockbuster and everything, because yeah, like it became like a regular thing that we would rent movies like pretty much every Friday night and get like a pizza or something and just watch movies.
Yeah.
And yeah, like.
Just nothing beats it.
Yeah.
I know, yeah. Like you could stream things, but it doesn't feel like an experience.
Yeah.
Like,
Do you ever go to a family video now that you're here?
no, I don't.
I
actually.
know.
I love the shout out in Stranger Things for it, but
It's like I fully feel like I should, and because I say things like, "Oh,
Yeah.
nothing beats going to the video store," but I'm also not getting off my lazy ass to go to the video store.
And then
Just-
to like have an account and have whatever card or whatever you have
Yep.
to have for
Yep.
it.
Yeah.
is it on Vudu? $3.99. I'll take it.
It's worth it. Yeah, I find like especially recently there have been specific movies I've wanted to watch, and you go and you forget the heartache of either not being
That's
there.
true.
Oh yeah.
And so like it's not an endearing quality.
Yeah.
Like of all the things that I remember loving about video stores, like
Yeah.
that's one that's really hard to get over, and that's still an issue.
Yeah.
Like they haven't figured that part out
Yeah.
of physical stores, and so
Yeah.
and then on top of this, it's not a scary movie.
I mean, honestly, before you go there
Yeah.
to get that point, probably the people who are doing the best at having what you want in stock when you want it is freaking Redbox.
Yeah,
Like,
yep, it's true.
it's like they have new releases day of for $1, and I'm like, okay, like let's do it.
I'm there,
and if
I,
they don't have it at that machine, it'll tell you what machine it's at.
Yep.
It's crazy.
I can go 5 minutes away and get it, and then return it wherever I want.
Yep.
Perfect, great. But recently, it was about a year ago, probably. One of my favorite baseball movies is The Natural with Robert Redford and Glenn Close. And I went and they had it. I was really excited. My wife had never seen this. It's probably top 3 favorite baseball movies, which is its own genre, right? And right at the very end, the home run montage.
Because number 1's Rookie of the Year, right?
Oh, Lord. That makes me want to burn something down. Yikes, let's get off that point. At the very end montage, the home run montage, like what the movie is known for, where he hits the lights out and they're spraying the sparks. It starts skipping.
Oh, no.
The only part of the movie that's really worth a damn. It starts skipping. I was so mad. It's like, this is why these are failing. This is why there's only 2 in Fort Wayne. It's awful. I was so mad.
Yeah, it's like 'cause I remember the whole thing with those is like they like dirty up like your VCR and everything like that.
Yeah.
Like,
So true.
like all the VCR head cleaners and stuff
Yeah.
like that we don't think about anymore.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna ruin my memory here. Like we're going down memory lane and we're just kicking all the trees over.
I actually
this
have
is awful.
I actually have a head cleaner tape somewhere around here. I can't
Yes.
remember where it is, but it's in this room somewhere. Okay, so we like to do a couple things here. So the first thing that I want to ask you is, what's the last horror movie that you watched?
Ooh.
Okay, it's funny because you said you're watching it later today, but I guess I would say Night of the Demons because I just watched it yesterday. Yeah, that's like in my regular rotation of Halloween movies to watch and
Yeah.
everything. So
awesome.
Really?
It's awesome.
I don't think I've even heard of this movie.
Yeah.
okay. Once again, Blockbuster.
Okay.
That's how I discovered it. Like,
Yeah.
because right after I graduated high school, I'm probably aging myself here. There was still Blockbuster. I remember I went with my friend. Like at the time, we just kind of read the back of the box and we're like, oh,
Yeah.
this sounds really fun in '80s and everything. And yeah, it's like we watched it. I loved it, and I bought it and everything. And
That's incredible.
yeah, so
I don't think you're not aging yourself too much. I remember actually I moved to Fort Wayne. It would be, I think, 7 or 8 years ago now, and the last Fort Wayne Blockbuster went out of business like the week that I moved here. So I went there and bought a bunch of really cheap movies.
Oh, and they were getting rid of stuff.
Yeah, they were
Yeah.
selling everything off. It was great.
That's true. I was in college at Anderson, and when the last one went out there, and it was just a freaking black market free for
It
all.
was crazy.
It was like,
3 DVDs for $1. Like,
and there's no organization, and there's the one shady guy in the corner, like opening up his coat, like
He's, like, been
look,
hiding
I
all the
got-
good stuff."
I got all the good stuff over here.
No, yeah, it's like, I mean, that's why, like, I feel like I'm annoying if I see something like that and I'm with another person because I will look at every single
Oh,
thing.
yeah.
That's like one of the few times when I'm that shopper. Like,
No, I
incredible.
get that. I get that. I was telling you downstairs, I used to
Yeah.
work at a used bookstore, so it was
Yeah.
half price books.
Yeah.
And I was in charge of comic books. Literally, all of my comic book customers were that customer.
Yes.
Like, there could be something in here that wasn't in
Yeah.
here yesterday. Like,
Yeah.
I got to look through the whole bin, okay?
Yep.
But-
So,
yeah.
sorry, go ahead.
Oh no,
Nathaniel.
yeah, I was just saying, it's like, I mean, that was a cool thing that like I was able to see Night of the Demons in like blockbusters like last year's. Just
Yeah.
considering how many horror fans I know who aren't familiar with it, because it's one of those kind of obscure '80s movies. It's
Right.
not like it's not like a Nightmare or Friday movie or anything like that.
Right.
Yep.
So
Yep.
That's awesome. Okay, so I have kind of feel like I haven't got to ask this question in a while, but it's my favorite question to ask.
right.
If you had to eliminate either one movie or one series of movies, you can kind of manipulate it however you want. What would that be? What franchise or what singular movie?
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's funny because I kind of thought about this like ahead of time because I've seen the podcast.
Yes.
And he sent me the questions and everything like
He
that.
said my guy's probably going to go off script and he's probably going to ask you this question.
No, that's like in the script now.
Yes!
You made it. You convinced me.
Nailed it.
But okay, so I know this is pretty controversial, but I don't know. Okay, but yeah, it's like
I love controversial.
Okay, but I guess, I came of age in the early 2000s. The Saw franchise just didn't really resonate with me a whole lot. Like,
Get it out of here.
Oh, see, this is one of those genres, franchises that, like, I think had so much promise. Like, we did a question a long time ago.
Yeah.
What franchise would you make a sequel of? And I said Saw. I know that they have a lot of trash ones.
Yeah.
This guy.
But I think that there's still places you can go with it, and they just fucked it up, right?
Yeah.
Like they took the cash grab, and they knew they knew the equation that worked, and they weren't creative enough to create a new equation that was going to throw anybody, right? Like
Sure.
they had Cube and they did Hypercube. Like, okay, you did the same movie, you just expanded a little bit. That's awful. That's really cheap, and so like it's one of those series that like I mean, hey, we respect everybody's opinions here, but that one's tough. That one's tough for me to stomach, just because I feel like I can still see it. I'm not gonna make any Saw movies, but I can see what it could have been.
Yeah, it's like, see, my thing is, I felt like I got a little bit more of an appreciation for it from, like when Dead Meat covered like Saw and everything like that, and because they, seeing things after the fact, like linking it to the Bush administration and the war in Iraq and all the stuff that was going on with that, and how it kind of seemed like a statement about America basically torturing people in the Middle East and stuff like that. So looking that, and then also just kind of looking at like how moralizing like Jigsaw was and everything like that, like that makes me a little bit more interested in it. But it's just not a franchise I own the first one, but I don't really care to own any other one. Like
Yeah. And I think that nothing is more evident of where that franchise ended up than the last movie.
No joke.
Jigsaw is just like, that could have been like a Lifetime original movie. It just had a little too much blood in it. Like, this is like, what
Absolutely.
the fuck is this?
Yep. And I get it. Like, I'll be the first to say they derailed a long time ago. Right, somewhere between like 2 and 3.
Yeah.
It fell off the tracks, and you're just like, shake your head, like, what is this?
Yeah, I remember liking part 2. I've probably seen it once or twice. But and then,
2's the one that has the scene of the pit of syringes.
Needles.
Yeah, that one gets me.
To
That one
see
gets
them
me bad.
hanging off of
Yeah,
her.
don't
and
like that.
Yeah.
I don't like that at all.
Yep. But then 3 and I like it's one of those franchises. Again, they knew what they had, because I kept going back, like I kept hoping. Like, hey, maybe they get it back on track, and they just never did.
It's funny because it reminds me, like, I feel like that was our closest thing to like in the 80s when there was like 5,000 like Jason movies and
it's
everything
true.
like
Yeah.
that.
I liked the fact that we had a annualized horror franchise.
Yeah.
And so that I would say the same thing about Paranormal Activity.
Oh, yeah.
That was my choice to eliminate, is Paranormal Activity series. But even in the moment, like, I like that we have a new horror movie that comes out every Halloween. Like, I like the idea of that. So even
Absolutely.
if there's no way to have that idea without it getting run into the ground. So.
Yep, it's true.
Okay, so what is something that maybe you think is a little underrated? Maybe it deserves a sequel or a remake, or maybe it doesn't need any of those things, just not enough people talk about it.
Ooh.
Okay, so something for that, like, I don't know, this usually gets a certain reaction out of people, but I really love like Jennifer's Body, and I feel like that has a really bad rap and everything like that. Like, even Diablo Cody says I haven't seen it since the premiere, just because how it just tanked like as soon as it came out and everything. And I mean, I love that it was considered in Eli Roth's History of Horror and everything that in the Devil episode, because it's like I feel like that was like a really forgotten movie.
I never watched it.
Yeah, it's like that was one of the movies I got to like live through and see in theaters and everything like that. the thing about it is, I feel like in the late 2000s, that kind of a movie just wasn't cool or anything like that. And then it kind of took some of the Juno-ish sort of spirit and everything in it. And so I feel like that mixed with horror kind of got like weird, because I mean, it was like the late early 2000s,
I mean, it's
so like
that mix of
Superbad,
yes,
Juno, like all those movies, and so it was that style, but like a horror movie. And
have you seen Dead Don't Die?
no, not yet.
I mean, it's very, very much a similar thing where it has this like mumblecore indie, Lost in Translation vibe, but then at the same time, it's kind of a horror movie. I just watched it on my flight, and I was just like, I love all of the pieces. I just don't know if I like them together as a sandwich, you know?
Yeah, and then it's funny, like, looking at Jennifer's Body, like, now, because it makes, like, a lot of statements about, like, gender and stuff like that.
Sure.
And then kind of thinking, like, I feel like if it was made today, it would probably reach more people. Like, post, Me Too movement, like all that stuff and everything. I mean, the whole thing that kind of sets everything into place in the movie is like a fire at a concert or something like that. I feel like, if it was made today, it would probably be like a mass shooting or something like that, because that would be more relevant. And I mean, I feel like it probably could, if it were made today, it might get a better reception than it did, like 10 years ago.
Interesting. That brings me to a point, and maybe this is getting a little hot button for the conversation here, but I am actually really interested now that you said that. Do you guys know of any movie that has like portrayed like a mass shooting or a serial shooting or a school shooting or anything like that? I don't know if we've if we've broached that yet,
I'm like, I haven't seen anything like that. It's funny because I actually heard, I was watching another podcast with my friend in El Paso was doing, and he brought up how an original idea for Scream was going to involve some sort of a mass shooting type of thing.
Really?
But it was too close after Columbine that they just like nixed that idea and went with what Scream 3 is now. And
that's interesting, because I don't think that, I'm sure there's something out there, and if there is something out there, somebody on Instagram or in the comments or whatever, let us know, because I would be interested to see that piece of film, because I just don't know that anyone's tried to tackle it yet.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things, like, if it hasn't been done, like, there's probably some people who really want to be the first, but there's also, like, who wants to be the first? You know what I mean? Like,
that's
kind of scary.
And it's weird because like earlier in the 2000s, I know there was a lot of like, I mean, I think like One Tree Hill did something like that. I think Glee did something like that. Like, but that was like before like mass shootings became like almost regular, like the way they are today.
Right.
So it wasn't as hot button back then.
That's really interesting.
Well,
so
like I guess it could be because of, and I'm not trying to make a statement of the commonplace of shootings, but but now you could make a different statement, right? I mean, like you could still have a concert shooting, you could still have a night venue shooting,
right? And that's I was thinking, like because you said fire at a concert, and that made me think of like Las Vegas and
Vegas,
I mean, you could definitely take it not in a school necessarily.
I mean, because then
a little bit easier to digest. I guess that's probably terrible for me to say that it's easier to digest, but I feel like it is.
I feel like I mean, I don't think it. I think it's a reality to say, especially being a parent. Like, I will sacrifice myself or a million other human beings before I sacrifice my child. Right? Like, I mean, like. Even on screen, even when I know it's fake, like if something bad happens to a child, it sets me off.
Yep.
It's just really not in a I'm gonna write a letter boycott, but like it's just it's difficult to
Christian
stomach.
moms against child movie deaths. Cody leads that Facebook group.
Yep. We will write letters. Oh yes, and we will boycott Procter and Gamble because they're behind it. So my mom says that pornography at Kmart, Procter and Gamble. I don't know how. I don't know. Anyway, sorry.
Okay, so would you say your like comfort food? You said you kind of said Halloween a lot. Would you consider that kind of your comfort food horror movie? Do you go back to that?
I mean, kind of. Well, I feel like I mean Halloween kind of fits in there, but I feel like what's more so that for me are a lot of just different like 80s ones, like
Yeah.
Night of the Creeps, Return of the Living Dead, the Nightmare movies, like especially the first three. Pretty much stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, some of the Halloween movies, I mean, I do like some of those middle ones, but then it does just get like, I don't know, this kind of feels embarrassing.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you like a franchise long enough,
Yeah.
you're gonna be embarrassed by it, right? I mean, like in the horror realm, someone is going to get their dirty paws on a
That's true.
storyline, and
That's true.
yep.
So my last question for you is, what do you think is the scariest movie that you've ever seen? And it might not be that it's scary now, but it might be the situation in which you watched it, something like that.
Absolutely.
Okay. I'm like, okay, I think I probably talked about this in the comments. But yeah, okay, well, first of all, I mean, it's really hard for me to evaluate a movie as like, this is, this was scary to me. Aside from if it was something I saw as a kid and it freaked me out.
Right.
Like I mentioned, like with Halloween, because I saw it like when I was like 7 and everything. But yeah, it's like in the comments a few months ago, I think I brought up how when I was showing The Strangers to like a friend, and me and her were alone in her house, like all the lights off and everything like that. She had like a side door that was kind of behind where we were sitting, and like in the middle of the movie, like somebody tried like opening it from the outside, like just like really jiggling it, and we're just like, what the fuck? And like we just paused, we paused the movie and we're like, what the hell's going on? And it was like, like pretty far into The Strangers and everything like that. And so it's like one of those movies that kind of gaslights you a little bit.
Yeah. That's perfect. That's perfect.
And then I was envious of her because I was like, I had seen the movie, like I owned it and everything, but that was her first time.
Right.
So now she's never gonna forget that.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
That's good. That's good.
Either somebody staged that really well, or that's like that's an incredible.
It's like I just remember because I'm friends with her on Facebook, and I remember when Us came out, she was saying like, I didn't really like it, I didn't get it, I didn't understand it, whatever. And then so people in the comments were kind of giving their 2 cents in and everything, and she said, and she brought up The Strangers, and she's like, I wish more movies like that would be like this, and because when Us was being advertised, it seemed like it was just going to be like a home invasion type of movie or something.
I was totally prepared for
it's
a
like,
stranger's feel.
And then I just like kind of interjected when I saw that. I was like, well, I mean, with that first experience, like nothing is ever going to top that. Like,
Yeah, the only way to like equate that for us is if you randomly see a doppelganger of yourself in your house. Like,
Yep.
Which leads me to my story for the day.
Yes.
So I'm a real estate photographer, so I do this creepy thing where I go into people's houses and I take pictures, and sometimes they're there, sometimes they're not. But pish posh. I was photographing this empty farmhouse today, out in the middle of nowhere. I was over near Van Wert.
Yep.
And I have my horror movie podcast playing in my pocket really loud, and I'm just walking around doing my thing. And then I'm, walking upstairs. This really old house, old fixtures, just old historic farmhouse. Everything that you're imagining, like the Night of the Living Dead house. Yes, that's exactly what it is. And I'm walking up the stairs, and like it's just a perfect hallway. And then at the very end of the hallway, the wall is just a mirror.
Ooh.
And so I'm just walking up the stairs, kind of looking at my feet. When you're on a staircase that you're not used to, you look down, make sure you're hitting all the steps, and like then I just look up and I just see like the top half of my body in this reflection, and it scared the living shit out of me.
Yes.
Like I audibly made noises. I can't even tell you. I like yelled or screamed or something. I made a noise with my mouth, and I was very frightened.
Yes, that's incredible. I was actually just thinking, like, oh, let me guess, you walked around a corner, you saw a mirror, and you scared yourself, and that was literally the story.
That's exactly because it was just the way it was in this house. Is like, why the fuck would the end of your hallway be a full mirror? There's no, it's not like a little like door mirror that it's like hanging on a door to a closet. No, it was the whole fucking wall at the end of the hallway, floor to ceiling, wall to wall, side to side was a mirror, and I was not expecting that walking up the stairs.
Better question.
Got me real good.
Why not?
That's why not.
That's true. That's a good point. It's a good point.
Doesn't matter how long I lived in that house, it would scare me every
Well,
time.
and then
Yeah.
for an old house like that, you won't expect
It's
that
weird,
kind of thing.
right?
Like,
It's weird.
You
It's
know,
weird.
when they have one too many, they like peek out, like, is it still looking at me? Like, oh, I would all the time. I do it in my own bathroom. Like, still looking at me?
You still do shit like that?
Of course. If you're not trying to hit it from the distance, or you're trying to check to make sure your reflection's still looking at you, then yeah.
I mean, that's kind of part of the inspiration for us. Is just that
Yeah.
thing that everyone does when they're a kid, where they're like, "Is my reflection looking at me?" Like,
Yep.
well,
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's like that reminds me of that one scene in The Craft, like when
Yeah.
it's like when she looks in the mirror and then her reflection faces the same way.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It's one of my favorite kind of horror movie tropes. You've seen a lot of movies where
Absolutely.
ghosts and witchcraft and stuff, the reflection reacts the way it's not supposed to. Okay, you got anything else?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I think we're doing pretty good. Nathaniel,
Yeah.
you got anything else that you'd like to tell the people?
I can't really think of anything.
Perfect. Perfect. If you are local, check out the meetup group, and you can also reach out to us on Instagram or Facebook or wherever, and we can potentially get you hooked up into
All
the
right.
Facebook group if
Oh,
you're
okay.
local. So
Yeah.
because I know the meetup group
It's like
caps
the,
out with members. and-
the meetup. I'm even contemplating like just getting rid of the meetup and
Right.
just going pure Facebook, Instagram, and everything.
Yeah.
Just because with meetup, you have to pay first of all to have a meetup group, and
weird.
then that only allows like 50 members, and then
Right.
so I have gone over that, even though like only like 3 people show up to meetings.
Sure.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's like, so I just keep getting all these requests of new people, and
Right.
it's like I can't accept you because I'm not gonna pay more if I'm only gonna get like 3 people for
Right.
a meeting
Right.
or something.
Right.
So
So if you're local, reach out to us, and we'll get you connected in the Facebook group or on Instagram or whatever, because we'd love to continue to grow your group as well. I
Alright,
was
thank
bummed
you.
I didn't get to go to the marathon you guys had. Why don't
Alright.
you why don't you share that a little bit? What all did you guys watch again?
Okay, so when I showed up, she was already watching a Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, but I've
Nice.
seen it in theaters. But yeah, it's like we watched the ending of that. We watched Trick or Treat.
That's a great one.
It's funny because we kind of brought it up, and then her and her husband just download movies and stuff, and they downloaded like the one that I'm sure most of you are thinking of that came out in the early 2000s,
Right.
with Sam, and it's a bunch of different stories and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But they also downloaded an 80s version called Trick or Treat, not Trick
Yeah.
or Treat. Which I have seen. I grew up having recorded on VHS and I was on TV and
Yes.
everything like that. I mean, Ozzy Osbourne has a small cameo in it and everything.
That's
And I told them, it's like, okay, this isn't the Trick or Treat I was talking about, but if
Yeah.
you're gonna watch it, it's pretty cool. Like I recommend it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like, so yeah, we watched Trick or Treat, and then we watched In the Tall Grass on
Yeah.
Netflix.
Yeah, which is
Nice.
cool. I still haven't seen that one yet.
Yeah. me neither.
Some things that I've watched. I watched Little Monsters on Hulu, which was good. It's very good. I also watched all of the Huluween shorts for this
those
year.
those are always good.
Yeah.
Those
I had a really good time. I'm actually gonna do a YouTube video of my thoughts on all of those. So
Nice.
yeah,
I needed to get quick into the mood.
Yeah.
I had missed too much of October, and so I did the deep dive into the Scream series. I just
Oh.
had to
Please.
get back into it, just because it hits so many marks, and it is an incredible, like, I forgot, like, there's an entire kill scene using the soundtrack of Halloween, like
Yeah.
Wes
Oh, yeah,
Craven's
yeah.
like homage to
Yeah.
like
With
80s horror,
with
like
Dewey, like
yes, and it's like there's just so many big things, little things. And I watched 1, 2, and 3, and like yes, they all have their kind of cringy moments, but they're also really good. I mean, that was it.
you're not
That's
gonna
the
watch
only-
4?
I watched 4 in like June, and it is good. It is like
I
that
really like 4.
the opener for 4.
One
is-
is-
opener!
the opener for 4 is just like It's the inception of Scream.
It's so everything that Scream was ever meant to be.
Who can I emotionally invest in? Who can I? I don't know.
And they're all famous actors and actresses.
Yeah.
Every single segment. Oh, it's so good.
Yep.
It's so good.
So I will probably watch it. I'm gonna try to get into some new stuff.
Yeah.
What I felt like I couldn't afford was to go like 4 or 5 in and miss on a lot of new stuff.
Yeah.
And then like feel like I'm at the end of October and I haven't felt
Yeah.
that nostalgia. I will say though, my good friend James Hudson provided me with one of the greatest viewing pleasures this last week. My boy went and he picked me up Ernest Scared Stupid, and we watched it together. I got to watch it. So James, his wife, his 7-year-old son, one of our friends. My wife was in and out. We were babysitting that night. She got to see the beginning of it. We're already planning on watching it again before the season's over. And then myself, and to sit there and watch it with 7-year-old Jonah, who like that's how old I was. That's the only scary movie that I got to like watch, and I was allowed to watch it. Because it was Ernest, and Ernest was always safe, and it was incredible to watch him, and as invested as he got into that doofy movie.
Dude, it was so funny.
It
He was
awesome.
playing Mario on a Switch and watching at the same time at first, and then like pretty much as soon as Ernest really shows up,
Yes,
he goes, "Mommy, can you hold this?" And just sets his Switch aside, and he's totally
he
so
was
good.
he was bought in, dude. The troll, like. He was interpreting for one of our friends like what the troll was saying. It was incredible. It was like
my God.
It was
It
was
was
incredible. I feel like I'm caught up even though I haven't watched anything new.
Yeah.
Like it's just I've
You're getting in a
scratched
spooky mood.
I've scratched that nostalgia itch, of
Yep.
like okay, we watch scary movies all year, but this is the season where I have to tap into Wishmaster. I have to tap into
You and
Halloween.
Wishmaster.
I know. But I will find the
They're fine.
time. I will find the time to get these movies out of my system because I watch scary movies all year. I don't watch these scary movies all year.
Right.
So
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that about wraps it up for us here. Just so you know, we have guests on the episode every single week. If you can be here in person, you totally can. We're just in my guest bedroom right now. Well, what used to be a guest bedroom. I have way too much podcast stuff for it to be a bedroom anymore. So there you go. Sorry, family who wants to stay from out of town.
Yes.
We'll get you an air mattress or something.
there it is.
But we can also just have you on via the phone and the power of the internet and technology. So no matter where you are, we can have you on the show. We do the show every Monday night at 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. We are live on Twitch today. We've kind of just jumped around a little bit, YouTube, Twitch, trying to find out what works the best. So we're gonna give Twitch another run for a little bit and see how it goes. But yeah, we record it live, so we can just have you on. Everything goes up immediately, and it's really cool. Internet's cool these days, man.
Yes, it
I don't know
is.
if you guys know that, but the internet's pretty rad. Okay, if you want to help out the show, all you have to do is like, subscribe, comment, enable notifications, all the internet things.
All the
just
things.
do all those internet things, and that really helps out with the discoverability of the show. It also just helps out with people being able to just for us to get the word out. I think that I really enjoy what we do around here, and I think that other people might have a little bit of fun with it too. So if you just help us out, we can help people get more involved. We can have cooler guests on the show, just like Nathaniel, and just continue to grow this thing because it's awesome. All right, thank you guys so much for listening.
This has been a production of Eek Channel. We make spooky stuff for people like you. You can discover more content like this at eekchannel.com or find us on Instagram, Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, all the places. And don't be shy, we like making new friends.